Hello and welcome to another edition of Sunday Night Soccer. We got Mike D live on location. How's it going, man?
It is fantastic, dude. I'm in Florida. We're on spring break with the family. We're staying at an Airbnb with a pool, so I got burnt today, but it's fantastic, man. How
Nice.
you doing, Jay?
Well, I can't say the weather's the same where I am, but I'm glad for you.
You know
It's
what's crazy, dude? This is the first time I watched sports. I watched the Yankees game today
yeah.
where it was colder than where I was. And I'm not used to
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my, I'm sitting in the pool watching the game because they got an outdoor TV where I'm at, not to brag, but and I
Yeah.
was watching the game and it was like, oh, this is weird. I've never watched a game where it's colder than where I'm.
Yeah. Some people are like that. You're like, man, it must be nice, huh?
It must be
So,
nice, yeah.
well, after a couple of weeks of the international window, buddy, we got a lot going on in soccer. So we got some big World Cup news coming in a minute. We got a lot of possible big stars coming to MLS that just came out in the last few days, and
Okay.
more. Obviously, after the international window's closed, all the club soccer's picking back up around Europe, the Champions League. So we'll get right into it. All right.
Let's do it, son.
So Champions League quarterfinals are set. The Women's World Cup was just announced in 2031, will be held in the U.S. Your girl Trinity Rodman led the U.S. women's national team to a 2-0 win over Brazil.
Beautiful
And
goal.
great goal, scored a goal, and glad to see her back after injury. She's been out for a while. Valencia stunned Real Madrid in La Liga. De Bruyne and Thomas Muller possibly to MLS. Big rumors there and some more concrete rumors. And the March Madness final is all set for you college basketball fans.
Yeah.
So we're going to throw a wrinkle into things here for you before we get into the league tables. Since it is March Madness, thought we'd just show you a bracket here. So this is the
Nice, dude.
current Champions League quarterfinals, and this starts this week, Tuesday and Wednesday. If you're not familiar, Champions League, we've covered before. You have to finish basically in the top four of your league the previous season. But we're getting down to the quarterfinals, so 8 teams left, some really big games coming up. Now, this is the first leg, so they'll play each other twice, and they take the total score of both games. But Tuesday, we got Arsenal versus Real Madrid, Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan. And then Wednesday, Barcelona versus Borussia Dortmund, and Aston Villa versus PSG. So some pretty big games getting right back into the thick of things here with the Champions League.
Jay, I'm going to throw another wrinkle in things like my skin while I'm in Florida. Explain the Champions League to someone like my mother-in-law that doesn't know soccer that's watching for the first time.
Is she watching? I doubt it.
Yes,
But
she is.
anyways,
I
I
swear to
will.
God, it's right now. She's watching.
So
She
the
loves
Champions
this.
League would be like if you took the top 4 teams in the league in Spain, the league in England, the league in all the different countries around Europe, Italy, Spain, Germany, smaller countries. And if you finish in the top 4, some don't get 4 spots, but 2 or 3 or 4 last season. So last May, when the season's over with, you qualify for this tournament. So this is a separate tournament. So for example, some of these teams like Inter Milan is leading their league right now. So they all have 2 things right now that they're really playing for. They could win this tournament and make millions of dollars for their team. And they could also win their league.
And that's
Borussia
the
Dortmund.
significance right there, which is different than
Yeah.
American sports, is that when you get to the quarterfinals and the semifinals, the more money that you'll make from this type of tournament. So winning these things actually is a benefactor because I think the winner gets 25 million for winning it. So it's based on your competition is how you actually make money in Europe when it comes to soccer.
Yes. And if you're an American sports fan, you can help me out on this, Mike D. I don't remember what was called, but the NBA tried this the last year or two with what's their that
Yeah, yeah,
mid-season
yeah. They
tournament.
increased. No, yeah, they have that. Okay, yeah, yes, they
Our
do that
backroom,
now.
our backroom staff's on it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's on it, but they only win 500,000. Think about that
Yeah.
in comparison to how much a player gets paid now, where it's about 60 million a year.
NBA Cup. Thank you, my
The
man
NBA
Eric and
Cup,
the
yeah,
backroom staff. NBA Cup. So
the
they
NBA Cup.
basically kind of base that off of this concept in an effort to kind of make the NBA regular season a little bit more exciting. But anyways, that's the Champions League. It's very cool. I urge you to get into it, check it out, because now we're getting down to the
Yeah,
quarterfinals. So it's
yeah.
fitting that we're in March Madness. Some really big teams, really big matchups. So this is the first leg. They'll play each other again 2 weeks from now. So, for example, if Arsenal were to win the first game 1-0 against Real Madrid, and they tie the second game 0-0, Arsenal would go through because the total score was 1-0. So Pretty interesting, cool stuff to keep an eye on. And with that, we have some news, top news coming here.
Yeah.
Fill us in on the league tables, buddy.
Let's go. Hey, listen, I'm going to have a tough time reading this because I'm on my phone because my computer. So, Jay, I'm going to need you to go through this today.
Gotcha. All right. Well, in England, Liverpool still leading the way, 11 points clear. They've pretty much all but wrapped it up. Arsenal in second. Nottingham Forest still holding on there. The Cinderella story, like March Madness there. Third place. Chelsea right behind them, 4 spots. But Chelsea and Man City and Aston Villa really all within 1 point, 2 points of fighting it out for that 4th spot. So why is that important?
Yeah,
that's really important. This is what people need to understand about soccer and why all the games are so important. For example, Man City are down a little bit this year by their standards, right? But they're down 1 point from 4th place Chelsea. If they could squeeze into that 4th spot, that puts them into the Champions League again next year. So even though they don't win their league maybe this year, they're in that top 4 spot, and that's what everyone's fighting for. Especially, you're really all the way down to Newcastle, I'd say, with 50 points. So there's 3 or 4 teams still right down to the wire trying to get into that 4th spot. Rounded out by Fulham, Brighton, and Bournemouth there in the top 10 in England in the Premier League.
And Nottingham Forest, they have the American on their team.
Absolutely.
Tyler Adams, right?
Yep.
CDM. Yeah.
Moving on to Italy, Serie A, Inter Milan leading the way with 68 points. Napoli in second, 4 points behind them. Atalanta, Bologna, Juventus just 2 points out again from that 4th spot. Lazio, Roma, Fiorentina. Unfortunately, our AC Milan are struggling, buddy. And
they had another tie this weekend.
Yeah, struggling a little bit there. So that's Serie A. La Liga in Spain, Barcelona. So some excitement there in Spain as Barcelona struggled with a tie, but Real Madrid, as we mentioned, lost. So that would have really closed the gap there for them. Atletico Madrid, Athletic Bilbao, Villarreal, Real Betis with the big tie. The top 4 spots pretty much kind of sealed up there in Spain. Celta Vigo, Real Sociedad, Rayo Vallecano, and Mallorca round up the top 10 there in Spain.
Jay, your articulation is absolutely insane.
Well, considering I can't speak Spanish very well at all, I try.
You're crushing it, son. Go ahead.
And then in Germany, Bayern Munich sit atop the table. Bayer Leverkusen, Eintracht Frankfurt. So you can see they're the top 2 really running away with things. But again, in Germany, Eintracht Frankfurt, Mainz, and RP Leipzig, Red Bull there. They're all within a couple spots of each other. Either Borussia Mönchengladbach there at 6th. There's 3 teams there again fighting for that 4th spot. And again, we're going to dabble a little bit into promotion relegation again today, but not a lot. But on the other side of this is what makes things so exciting. The teams at the bottom fighting for that promotion relegation. And then there's also teams up at the top. And even these mid-level groups, 6, 7, and 8, are battling for their Europa League, which is kind of like Mike D. I explained that as the NIT. you know, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
But it's still another tournament, and you get some money for your team to compete in next year. So that top 4 spot, you'll hear a lot, if you follow the news or soccer very much. But a lot of teams everywhere are going to be fighting for that top 4 spot. And when you hear that, that's what they're referring to because they get that money for the Champions League. So turning it over here to MLS, can you handle that, or you want me to get that for you?
Well, yeah, I still can't see the screen very well. So, Jay, you're still on the mic, my man.
Gotcha. Well, Columbus Crew, my Columbus Crew leading the East. You can see they're Inter Miami, though, 2 games in hand. So what that means is if you look at that first column, they've only played 5 games. So they're still doing pretty well because other competitions.
Jay, I lose you? Jay, you still there?
Sunday Night Soccer, but the Apple TV Sunday Night Soccer.
Seems
like, they're on every week. But anyways, Philadelphia, Charlotte still surprised there in the East, Cincinnati, Orlando City, Chicago. Your Chicago Fire is still doing pretty well.
I'm New York. I'm New York. I'm New York. NYCFC.
Well, I know, but I thought you supported them a little bit.
I do. I want to see them do well. But I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
To talk about Columbus, I'll be in Cleveland next week in support of their street soccer tournament that they have, because their game against Inter Miami in April will be in Cleveland to kind of broaden their market and where they're going. And so they're going to be playing in the Brown Stadium. So my brother and I will be there while I host the street soccer event for the Columbus Crew on next Saturday.
Awesome. So make sure you check that out if you're going to that game or anywhere around Cleveland.
Yeah, most definitely.
So moving over to the West, Vancouver still a surprise. They're leading the West by 2 points. And then speaking of surprise, the expansion team, San Diego FC, still going strong. So it wasn't beginner's luck, Mike D. They're still going strong in second place. Minnesota, Austin, Portland, FC Dallas, Colorado, San Jose, LAFC, and Real Salt Lake. So out West, some new teams there in those top 3 or 4 spots that aren't typically, what you would call maybe the powerhouses the last couple of years. But that's pretty good to see. Exciting times for the league at the beginning of the season.
Jay, what state is the city of Denver in?
What state? Colorado.
Colorado. No. That is. I know, but that's just not how you say it. That's all I'm saying. Colorado.
Complimenting my pronunciation. I don't know.
But okay, but when it comes to American states, you're a little off. It's Colorado.
But when it comes to soccer teams, I got it.
Yeah, right. You got it.
Ask me a soccer team. I don't know the 50 states, but I can tell you.
If that's not American soccer in a nutshell right there, or we have the MLS, Major League Soccer with FCs in our league.
But I can tell you I can tell you the 4th place team in Germany.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But Colorado. All right, go on.
All right, so there's our league tables. Back to Americans abroad. We finally have some games to report on. Your boy, Josh Sargent, scored his 14th goal for Norwich in a 2-1 loss. And Norwich is in the championship, which is the 2nd division of professional soccer in England. Haji Wright scored his 11th goal for Coventry in a 2-1 loss. Again, same division.
Can I stop you there?
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about Haji Wright?
I think he's got promise. I wouldn't mind, getting a look with the national team. What about you?
I feel like he's lacks tenacity. And this is why I like Josh Sargent. So people that don't understand, they're both strikers, right? And we are looking for a goal scorer, someone that is just clinical around the box, someone that can always score. Josh Sargent, what I like about Josh Sargent, he might not be clinical, he might not always be scoring, but he doesn't stop working. So he always kind of figures out a way to put the ball back in the net. I think the last kind of target player that we had up top was maybe Altidore.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So we're still looking for that. So Haji Wright, Josh Sargent, who's the guy that we just got from England that's over
oh, you asked me too quick. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, Bologna. No,
Balogun.
Yeah, Balogun. Yeah. He almost seems to be the best one to me. I would like to see more of Tim Weah up top, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I think
those are all good options. Yeah, I'm not sure if we have the one single person that fits that perfect role, but yeah.
We don't. Yeah. But anyway, okay, move on. Am I still here?
Technical difficulties there. If we cut out, sorry. Tyler Adams from Bournemouth, 2-2 tie with West Ham.
Yeah. No, wait. So who's on? So Tyler Adams is not with. He's with Bournemouth. He's not with Nottingham Forest. Who's with Nottingham Forest?
He's with Nottingham Forest. I get our backroom staff on that.
Okay, I was
thinking that's what you were talking about. Yeah. Aidan Morris, former Columbus Crew, helps Middlesbrough, who are also in the championship, to a 2-0 win over Blackburn. And Johnny Cardoso, Real Betis, as we just said, tied Barcelona in a big result for them, 1-1. So some big things. And most importantly, Mike D, I'm just glad we have actual news now to report on after that international window.
Yeah. That's a sad time for soccer fans.
Yeah,
the
it slows
international
down a little
window
bit.
comes, it slows down a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Slows things down a little bit. All right, I am going to have to make this bigger because I tried to improve our graphics,
I
but
like these graphics, Jay. You're doing a great job, man.
they're a little better, but still difficult to see, I think. So
It's all
at
right.
least on our end. Mo Salah, Liverpool. Not only are Liverpool doing great, Mo Salah just running away single-handedly with everything. He still leads Europe in goals. Robert Lewandowski second there, having a
Balloon
great
dealer.
season. Having his great season, by his own right, but not up there with Salah. Harry Kane, Mbappe, Badigiu, Erling Haaland, who's out for a little bit now with an injury, Dembele, Isak, Marmoush, and Chris Wood round out the top 10 in the top 5 leagues around Europe in goals. And again, that's not a typo. I know on this show we have typos quite a lot, but Mo Salah actually still leading in assists as well.
It's
So just
awesome.
having a great season for Liverpool. Olise with 13 assists. Lamine Yamal, the youngster for Barcelona, continued to do well. Saka with 11. He came back for Arsenal over the weekend, so good news for them. Wirtz and Marmoush also. Again, Marmoush is having a great season. They're all tied on 11. Rafinha, Barcolo, and Bruno Fernandes now, along with Savinho, all round out the bottom there, tied on 10 assists. And then moving to clean sheets, Gulaxi with 13, Sells with 13 for Nottingham Forest, Oblak 12, De Gregorio, Summer, Ramiro, Villar, I'm not sure about that one, on 12.
I like that.
Manuel Neuer, Merritt, and David Raya all tied on 11. And that rounds out our individual stat leaders around Europe. All right, moving on to the big picture. You've been a busy man, actually busy
Yes.
relaxing, but
I
we haven't had a
wish.
lot of time to talk this week. But
Yeah.
our coaching
Let's get
topic
into it.
this week we're going to dive into is coaching philosophy.
Okay.
What is coaching philosophy? Not necessarily, yours, you can tell everyone, but what is a coaching philosophy? How do you develop your own? Where do you start if you're a younger coach or just getting started at any level? And a big question, I think, can it change? So what are your thoughts, Mike D, on coaching
That's a
philosophy?
really good question. And so to the audience out here, I'm literally off the cuff answering this question because I have been on spring break. So just like you listening out there, and if your mind's starting to wrap around the question, it's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to give you as honest of an answer as I can possibly give you. So when I had to do this for my licensing, I think I had to do this for my D license. I had to write a paper for my coaching philosophy. And when you're talking about youth compared to maybe adult or high school, your philosophy might switch a little bit. And I think that is normal, right? You're when you're changing the caliber of play, your intent of how you're managing the team probably should change. So for youth, and then when you're climbing the ranks of your licensing from F to A, you're starting with youth, and then you're going up to higher levels. So this, when I had to write this paper, it was 4, 8 to probably 14. I would say. I think it was from 99 just starting 11 to 11 when I was writing this paper. And the way I determined my philosophy was basing it on passion. So the way that I was going to manage the team, the way that I was going to instill training, the way that I was going to talk to my players to get motivation, to get camaraderie, was to promote passion. Not results, not tactics, not
Yeah.
technique, enjoying the game.
Mhm.
And as I've grown, and this was now 6 years ago as a coach, and I've gotten into higher levels now, coaching high school, and I've coached U18 pretty consistently now, men's. Um, that's not necessarily changing. The tactic of how I'm bringing passion to life is changed. Talking to an 18-year-old man rather than a 12-year-old boy, there's
Yeah.
there's things that are different and how what's motivating. In fact, motivating an 18-year-old boy is a lot harder. And I'm going to say this again, 18-year-old boy. The
Yeah.
misconception is that they're men, and they're
Yeah.
not. They may look like men. They might shave their upper lip. They are not men. They are still very much insecure, still figuring things out. And the way you have to coach them, you still have to be very delicate with emotions. and how you pick and choose and how you're going to get them to the next level. But at the same sense, there's more pride involved. There's more independence. They want more independence. They want to say, I'm 18 now, I know things. So the way that you talk to them, you have to talk to them as not down to them.
Yeah.
So I think for a young coach, when you're deciding what philosophy, you have to think about what you're going to interject into your system for your players, for your trainings. That's going to kind of brand everything that you're doing so players have a understanding of what you're delivering. Does that make sense, Jan? I have no idea if that made sense. I've had a lot of rum today.
No, I think that I think we could ask 10 coaches tonight on this show and we get 10 different answers. I think it's unique to every single person.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, thank you for saying that. 100%. It's unique to every coach. So go ahead, Jay. Yeah.
Well, I think a coaching philosophy to me is if, you and I have known each other, we talk a lot, but if you were to come and watch a team that I was coaching, which we've never really done yet, or if I were to come and watch your team play, it's what would you want that person to see from any team? And obviously, talent levels can go up and down. You can have a good season, a rough season, but the main, philosophies or things that you want to instill in a team is kind of your coaching philosophy, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's to me, not necessarily X's and O's and, you believe in a 4-4-2, whatever. It's more like you said, how you're going to communicate, what are your expectations of people, how do you run the team, what do you ask from the players, things like that. So
for me, that's well, sorry, Jay, go ahead, keep finishing. I want to hear you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
Well, no, I was going to move on to the next part where it says how to develop your own. Over there on the right, it says, it's okay to steal. That was a bullet point I wanted to make, that I think as a coach, for myself at least, I don't know about you, but I've stolen things over the years from all the different coaches I've had, and not even in soccer, just in different sports, where you might pick one or two things you thought, I like the way that team was or what we did. And that is what all kind of comes together to form your own coaching philosophy. Does that make sense?
Yes. And that was, so what I wanted to say was, like, why passion such, like, my philosophy, why I stand behind that so much, because it's what I believe develops a player at its core. Like, I just got in this argument on Facebook the other day. Someone said, American soccer values hard work over technique or a smart player. And I understood their point, right? It's like sometimes we maybe value like the guy that's more gritty. But and in my opinion, hard work's the baseline for American soccer culture.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. In fact, I very much agree with it. I very much agree where if you don't have the hard work, you don't have the tenacity, you are not going to benefit the locker room the way that I want it to be benefited. You're not going to put in that extra effort in the inches that need to be executed at the in moments in the game. Hard work is something that I need you to have. Now, mindless hard work is where I think it gets lost in translation. And where in soccer, when you have to account for 11 different people on the field in your team, or you know what I mean, 22 different people, there's more calculation to it. So you can't just run hard where you're leaving open spaces that are going to be to the contrary of what you're trying to do. And I think that's the difference when you're playing 5v5 basketball or 5v5 hockey in these smaller scale, smaller fields, that doesn't translate in soccer. You can't just run effortlessly and it just keep going. Or in football, where everything's designed. Like, you are calculating the space, you're moving into space, you're shutting down as a unit, you're opening up as a unit. Like, everything's much more calculated, and your awareness factor, because there's not X's and O's like there is in multiple other sports, and it's up to the individual thinker, is you need more precision. You need to be more intelligent to work hard. So there is more to working hard, but I think that stems from passion. If you love the game, you'll understand the inches more. So when you're developing the game, go back to why you love the game. Don't go to what works in Europe. That's what I don't like. What works at, like, if you like the beauty of the game in Brazil because they play it beautifully or whatever the hell that is, then yeah, that's great. Then use that. But if you're saying this gets results, you're never gonna be a good coach that way. If your focus is that, if your focus isn't passion driven, to me, you're not going to be as infectious or as great as a coach as you can be if it's not around what you love and desire and can speak. Like me and you, Jay, can bullshit on this podcast all day without having anything written because it's real passion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it's raw. It's in
No,
us. Like
I'm glad you said it. So I've had people before ask, when they've had an interview, to coach somewhere, and they've asked me for advice, and I say, just don't. This shouldn't be really something you have to practice and recite all the time. It's just how you feel. And when someone asks you, what do you want your team to play like? And this is my suggestion here, the big picture. I think you should start at the end of the season. How would you like to see your team playing? What are the big things you believe in? And then work your way back, to the beginning. Where do we start? And then to ask, can it change? Yeah, I think it can change. For as long as I've coached and you coached, I'm sure it always changes. You know what I mean? It's
always
kind of
changes,
evolving and changing a little bit. And absolutely, it's okay to steal. I think that's what all coaches do. They steal ideas. You see or hear things, and you steal things from other people. So I think absolutely. So,
and if you've ever read a coaching book, Jay, it's all it is.
Yeah,
it's someone else's philosophy. It's someone else's. And like for me, the one of the things that I steal is more or less the articulation of how they're talking to their players. Like sometimes the way that coaches paint a picture to me, I feel like that's okay. That's more motivating, or whatever the hell that may be. So yes, absolutely. Stealing's the wrong word. It is being influenced. There's an artistry to it. It's understanding what's motivating, what's connecting the dots for these players to get your vision across, for them to be in sync, for them to be united as a group.
Yeah.
And
different terminology.
100%.
Yeah.
So like Jay, like when me and you talk, like there's so many things like that you share with me, right? Like when you're talking about like the athlete today, when it comes to mentally and where they've been because of COVID or anxiety and things like that. Like we didn't come up with those things.
Yeah.
But it's us. Why do we care? Why are you sharing that with me? Because we want to know, like, we see a difference in our players and we always have to adapt.
Yeah.
And there's ways that some coaches are doing this better. And I think that's the hardest part as a coach sometimes is how many times, like if you want to grow, you have to take it on the chin. Like if you got to be super honest with who you are, and you got to see all the ugly parts about yourself as a coach.
You have to be willing to change.
You have to be willing to change. And how many times I've been, and you also got to understand for any young coaches who to listen to and who not to listen to. And that's something like this is where parents become a gray area, right? Because they might have different incentives and things of why they're telling you what you're telling you. But that's why going to coaches is kind of that gold mine of where you're going to get the right knowledge.
Yeah.
You know?
So absolutely. So I think coaching philosophy, for anyone, and really this isn't necessarily specific to soccer. So,
it's not right. Good point. Very good point.
It's unique to everybody. And if you're a young coach out there, watching, or if you ever watch this, it's something you just need to put a little thought into what you believe in and make it your own, make it your own. So, great topic. I think interesting discussion. Maybe something I'm sure we'll come back to.
And let me say something real quick. If you're an average soccer lover and you're coaching, put more thought into it. Okay, we don't need that anymore. If America's culture is going to grow, we need to actually for you to give a shit, and we need you to care, and understand the right habits and the right techniques. Like don't half it. Like don't make this like even if you're at the ASO level, like do the sport of justice and understand what the right technique is and what the wrong technique is and the right tactics. Like they're teach the game. Don't just teach cone drills. Don't just teach friendship in practice. Please teach the game.
Yep. Well said. Well said. So
thank you.
Moving along here to our next topic, the big issue. Interesting. So we talked earlier about stars coming to MLS. There's rumors lately about Thomas Muller from Bayern Munich and Kevin De Bruyne from Manchester City coming to MLS. Now these are again some older stars, kind of towards the end of their career. If you don't understand, I think what we want to talk about more, really, Mike D, is the unique, I guess unique is the right word for it, salary cap in MLS, where the MLS has a $5.95 million per year salary cap, but each team is allowed 3 designated players whose salary cap does not count towards, or whose salary doesn't count towards the salary cap. Is this a bad thing? And I guess my main question is, do you feel it's time for some changes to be made for MLS? So if you're a casual sports fan out there, sorry, baseball, for example, your Yankees, Dodgers, they can spend a lot of money if they have it. That's not the way
Juan Soto.
Yeah, not the way that MLS works. So go ahead, Mike D. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry, because I'm glad you explained that. Yes, it's time for changes. America, wake up. Wake up. Like, stop trying to grab your attention from has-been sports players, from has-been athletes, excluding Messi, because I'm a fan of that product coming here. But make it homegrown talent. Finally invest. The sport is popular enough here. What's not popular enough is the way that we're going out and doing this. It's not. You're not making it a competitive drive. You're not making it fair to homegrown talent. And you're not doing it justice. It's time that the MLS, Major League Soccer, starts paying attention to what's going on domestically, and they start paying attention to the streamline that goes all the way up from youth to the top. And then when they get to the top, those should be the Messis. It shouldn't be the De Bruynes. It shouldn't be these players that have had all the marketing, all the global attention already. We are the United States of America. We have made 3 astronauts as famous as anyone else in the entire world. We can do that with soccer players. We need to change how we are marketing these players. We need to make homegrown talent the new stars. We need to invest like Nike did with Michael Jordan. There is the talent here. Once you create a road of glory for local talent, the game will change. But you're still paying overseas talent because you're still thinking that the game exists not here. It does. Pay attention. Pay attention to the Soccer Rebellion. Pay attention to what we got going on. We have 2 players that have played in the Soccer Rebellion, now playing for the MLS, and now having trials overseas with Ajax and with teams in Spain.
Yeah.
There's no big deal about it. No one's making a stink about it. What are we waiting for? Christian Pulisic's only a big deal because he played for Chelsea. He played in Bundesliga. He plays for AC Milan. That's bullcrap. What would he look like if he played for Columbus Crew? If he played for NYCFC? He wouldn't be near the same attention because we don't invest our time into it. This is why the U.S. men's national team have a quarter of a stadium full. Yeah. You're not investing in local players. Our biggest attractions are global players, are players that don't even play here. Yeah. Like, MLS, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for to actually change the narrative? What is it not big enough that it's coming to the United States next year? And then now we have the Women's World Cup coming here, and that the women's team is outselling the national team, bar none, and everything that we do? Like, enough's enough, man. Like, you have the generation, like my generation that grew up with the MLS, we're still waiting for you to make this the cool club. And you keep sucking at it. You keep sucking at it.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point now, like, watching this lack of pride that's going into soccer here, and it's just pissing me off. Like, fire everybody. Clean house. Put me in.
Well said, Mike D. Well said. Well, the only thing that I would like to add is I feel, and I love your passion. Didn't mean to set you off on that one, but I love it. But
nah, it's time, man. It's time. I feel like we've danced around this issue enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I feel strongly enough. I just like you said, but my opinion is MLS is now at the point where they are sustainable. You know more about that than I do, from a business standpoint behind the scenes, but understand a little bit the first couple of years starting a new league and you don't want it to crumble, whatever. But they are to the point now where they're a sustainable league. It's popular enough. There's enough people that have grown up around soccer that are supporting it. There's soccer specific stadiums now everywhere. There's not just 1 or 2. where they're now at the point where I think that they need to seriously look at this, and now I'm not saying there should be no salary cap at all, maybe like baseball. And, I don't know the financial dynamics of that, but like what you said, it is time to allow teams to pour more money into their own organizations, to pay players, more, and things like that. If one other thing I'll add real quick, if people aren't aware, I urge you to go out right now and look up an MLS team, any MLS team. If you have a local one, that's great. But if you don't, Mike D, this is fascinating, right? Look up the salary, because it's published, knowledge on the internet. You can look up the wages on an MLS team, and people would be astounded, Mike D, astounded at what a lot of the MLS players make as a professional soccer player. Now, I'm not talking about Messi, okay,
Yeah,
some of those
right.
guys. I'm talking about the 5th, 6th, 7th best player, okay, a starter on an MLS team. Look up what they're making. It's amazingly low. And the one thing I'll add real quick before I turn it back over to you is, if people don't understand, they're wondering, like right now, they're watching Messi, how is he here? He's not making, he's got to be making more than $5 million a year. Well, he is. That designated player rule allows people like him to still be on a team, and they can pay him. That started with David Beckham back when he came here. They can pay him amounts of money that don't count towards that, as well as from other ways to fit that into his contract. So this Apple stuff, feeds him more money. Adidas, things like that through MLS can also supplement his salary. So people like that are not making, $1 or $2 million. But there are starting players and backup players who are professionals on MLS teams not making $100,000, Mike D.
And think about that messaging away from what you're just saying, right? Messi has earned that on the biggest stage across the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you have American players trying to compete with that. That alone, that money is telling them their value. That money alone, you're comparing yourself. Now you're playing a guy against Messi that's making 100 times the amount that you're making on the field.
Yeah.
Like, you're not nearly as good as this player. Like, stop that. Like, you're only bringing down the American value even lower when you do that. You're pricing us out. Like, it's simple economics at this point. Like, our demand is not there. And you're showing that even in our domestic league by overpaying for players that aren't even from our own country.
So let's say, for example, I didn't think about this, but what like your Yankees, it'd be like if they paid Aaron Judge $50 million a year, right? But then they only had $52 million as a team. So they had to pay the rest of the guys.
It 100% is what it's like.
The whole rest of the lineup was getting $200,000, and you had one guy getting 20 million or 50 million. Yes.
You know what? And that's actually more honest of how it actually works in America than not. Like, if you look at a lot of these teams, a majority of these players, you got 3 or 4 players that are exceeding the amount. But if you look at who's winning, you look at the ones that have teams.
Yep.
You look at the ones that aren't doing it that way. Why Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks took a massive pay cut. Like the stories that embody an actual team mentality are the teams that win. This is where capitalist society and sports clash. Because when you are at a point to where you're trying to grow the league and you don't have the reputation of a Chelsea, a Man United, a Bundesliga, Bayern Munich, a PSG, you're not going to be at the top of the table. But this is why in Europe, all those stories that you're talking about where the underdogs are now in these small cities coming up because there's actual honest competition happening. And these other players are actually getting a fair chance to actually make the big bucks and pro and relegation happen. Yeah. Like, it's just whoever's playing with the puppet strings, sit down, Don. Get on this podcast.
Time for change.
We're tired of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely time for change. We agree on that. And again, our passion and our opinions just come from our love for soccer and how much we both, want to see it continue to grow and improve.
Correct.
In this
and how
country.
Pissed off I am now about it.
Like, ruining your vacation.
Yeah. There's no reason. You're turning the rum into something not happy anymore.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. All right. We'll move along now. We'll move along. We don't want to disrupt your stuff here. So
No, you're good. I'm just kidding, Jay.
I'm working on this here. Hopefully this will work this time. You know, our backroom staff, the budget here at Straight from the Training Ground Soccer is
The budget.
pretty minimal, let's say. All right. So here's our highlight video. This is one for you. I think you'll like it. One of the guys that we both like, but it just brings out the flair and the love of soccer.
It's like it's on a piece of string. He's still going. He's having his shirt pulled. He doesn't care.
It's like a highlight reel today. The tricks, isn't it?
How's that, Mike D?
How slow is that game for the man? You know what I mean? Like when you have the ability to change the pace of a game to where you're walking around, like
To just stop.
Yeah, yeah. Like you've conquered it. Like you've got it. Like all right, you've mastered this game.
So that's Ronaldinho. Two things I want to point out, and I'll let you have a go. Number one, Ronaldinho, I guarantee you, Mike D, if he came out today and played, even at his age, would still do the same kind of things right there. It's just how he is, it's his personality. Second thing is, if you don't know who Ronaldinho is, kids, please look him up on YouTube and watch some of his amazing highlights.
If you don't know who he is, yeah.
He's a world-class player who played like that, even in a World Cup final, a Champions League final. He never changed. He always had a smile on his face, and he just loved having a soccer ball, right?
He was the last one to make Brazil, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Kaká, when Ronaldinho played, I mean, it felt like their whole going back to the coaching philosophy was just play beautifully. Yeah, play beautifully. Don't worry about results. Just play beautifully.
How calm he is on the ball and stuff. Amazing. So, little Ronaldinho for you there, guys.
Good job.
Moving on to our team of the week to get along a little bit of that promotion relegation that we alluded to earlier. It's got to go with Wrexham, and here's why, Mike D. Obviously, everybody by now, you've heard of Wrexham. Ron Reynolds, Rob McElhenney, all that stuff. But here's why. Great show on Netflix. You can watch it. But Wrexham are now.
If you're thinking, yes, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, and then McLevy from Always Sunny in Philly. So if you haven't seen their show on FX, they bought a team in Wales because you could buy it super cheap, and because there's pro relegation, they can go up to the top level and pay basically at the NFL, at the MLB level. By buying a team that they bought for, what was it, Jay? Was like $2 million?
$2 million, folks. And right now, today, as of about 2 weeks ago, this team is worth $100 million. Promotion relegation, kids. But Wrexham won yesterday 3-0. That means they are currently in second place. Now, they're in League One. So that is the third division in England. So there's the Premier League, the Championship, and then League One. Let me explain. They're currently in second. The top two teams in that level get promoted and go up next year to the championship. They have a 6-point lead over third place, so that's why that's important. They have 5 games remaining. This would possibly be their third straight promotion in a row. So in 3 straight years, they've went up every year to the next league above them. So 2 years ago, Mike D, they were in the 5th tier of professional soccer in England. And with 5 games left in their season, they have a serious opportunity next year to be in the English Championship.
Oh, my God.
That's why they are the team of the week.
How awesome is that, man? Oh, and I hope they do it. I hope. Oh, man.
Yeah, just for the. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Oh, I mean, what a great story. Good for Wales, by the way. If you ever watch it, like who you fall in love with is not necessarily the players. You fall in love with the city and what it means to the city.
The community, yeah,
for sure. What a great story.
We had to go with them this week. Just an amazing story, and I just want people to understand it's much more than just the show on Netflix. I recommend it. It's great, even if you're not really a huge soccer fan. I think people would like it, but to understand promotion relegation, man, this just epitomizes it, Mike D. I mean,
100%, man.
Not just money wise, but you can you imagine a team we don't even have. I don't even know what 5th division baseball is in our country. It's I guess two
Yeah,
levels
you're
below
right.
two levels below
That's-
single A.
Yeah,
Whatever that is.
that's somewhere in South Dakota. Like,
Yeah.
like that's unbelievable.
Colorado.
Well done,
All right.
Jay.
Yeah. So, all right. To wrap up the show, our Spanish words of the week. Here you go. I am learning Spanish.
That's what you Is your wife like playing tricks on you?
No. I made all this stuff.
All
too,
right,
just
all
for
right, good for
buddy.
you. All right.
How to say I am learning Spanish. I think it's important for you and I.
It is.
Estoy aprendiendo español.
Estoy aprendiendo español.
Something like that. Something
Estoy
like that.
aprendiendo. I think that's how you say that. That's the hard one, right?
Yeah,
Estoy,
yeah.
I think we got.
Aprendiendo, I think.
Aprendiendo. Aprendiendo.
I think the fact that we mispronunciate it explains to people exactly what we're saying.
Yes.
It says I'm learning
And
Spanish.
please call us out, like in the comments. Like we are not trying to be insulting, by the way. We are truly trying to learn. It's our New Year's resolution. So if you're just tuning in, we've been doing this all season long. And it's because we understand that this is the language of the American soccer culture. And so we're trying to pay homage to it.
And it's very important. Very important. So
Very
with
important.
that, it's our favorite time on the show, time where Eric, our backroom staff, points out all of our lovely mistakes that we've made, which is usually pretty plentiful. There he is.
Hey, there's my brother. Hey.
First off, I'm appalled at this show.
Well, you're the only
That
person
we
that's
did
watching.
not call out Jalen Brunson's return today. Welcome back to the NBA, Jalen Brunson. Appalled.
All right. Control yourself. There's people watching.
Second out, shout out to UConn's women, national champions. They
By 20.
dominated South Carolina, dominated them. They look beautiful. It was an amazing game. The women's basketball is just as good as the men's basketball, if not better sometimes. So would definitely start tuning into that.
Yep.
Along with that, let's see here. The winners also of the Championships League, this was something that was left out,
Oh, yeah.
auto qualifies. So if you win the Championship League this year, it doesn't matter where you seed in your whatever division. Next year, you've automatically qualified for the Championship League next year. So when Arsenal wins it this year, they will be qualified next year no matter what.
Even when they finish last in the Premier League.
Possibly. You never know. With their 11 draws this year, it's not a good way. It's not a good attack to go.
No, it's a good point. Good point.
NBA Cup. You mentioned it was based off of the Championships League. It is actually not, and the reason why is because everybody gets an opportunity at it. I wish it was based on it to where you had to qualify for it, but you don't. Every single team gets a chance at it. They did try to take the soccer model of having an in-season tournament, but it is not based off the Championship League because there's absolutely no qualification. I think personally, if you go ahead and throw a qualification in there, you'd get rid of some tanking. You'd get rid of some people trying to give up the end of the season.
That's a really good point.
For that cup, then go ahead. There's something there, and that would actually I'd be more into that.
Eric, how would you feel about this? Let me ask you a question, all right? How would you feel if the NBA Cup had more to do with where you ranked in the draft?
I think I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that. Long story short, long time ago, I used to really be one of those people who called up in sports radio shows way too many times.
Oh, I remember this time of your life.
And they were talking about NBA.
They called him Soupy Eric. They'd be like, "Oh, here comes Soup."
Soupy Eric for some reason. I don't know why. It's probably because I was always eating soup.
How am I just finding this out?
That time in our life when we were big into soup. It's okay. But I brought up the point. I said, what if we did a tournament alongside the playoff to where you can win the first round instead of doing a lottery? So you actually had to play in a tournament to do that. Yeah. So I would love the NBA Cup being that. And Mike, my favorite soup was cream.
It's the one at that gas station on the way to the tattoo park.
God, the gas station has great soup. I'll tell you what, Jay. Whenever you come up here, I'll take you to this gas station. There are actually no Americans on Nottingham Forest.
Oh shit!
Matt Turner is actually signed by them, but he's on loan to Crystal
Yeah,
Palace.
that's what it is. All right, my mistake. All right.
Let me see here. Now, this was not a mistake at all, but now we're into that next area where I broke down the three NFL, NBA, and NHL salary caps.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
NFL is $27.9.2 million a year salary cap for a team. NBA is $154.6 million. And the NHL, which I would say is probably the most comparable to the MLS as far as, popularity and who you're drawing fans from, $95.5 million.
Compared to $5 million.
Compared to $5 million. So as
Shout out to
Michael was
Ovechkin,
saying,
by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ovechkin for beating Gretzky's
Ovechkin,
record.
absolutely. Yep. Even though he cheated, it's okay. Fine. But you'll never take away one from the great one. I love it. But there's my first question to you guys. Is it really more than anything else other than just owners not willing to put the money forth to actually let this team grow? Because if I'm a player, if I'm an athlete in America that has a chance to go pro in anything, why the hell would I go to MLS when these other sports are going to pay me so much more and can?
Jay, can I run with this, Jay?
You can if you run quick.
So here, but Eric, to your point, I just had this conversation with Jeremy, and these clubs, and I think probably a majority of clubs across the world are losing money, more or less in the MLS. So they are betting on the only thing that's going to make them money. Like you get a player from overseas, and that's where the discrepancy happens rather than putting marketing dollars into something that's going to have longevity. So does it make sense in development?
Can I ask you a reverse question on that then? If
Yeah,
I'm an American soccer fan, wouldn't I rather pay money to go see the next American soccer star, or would I rather pay money to see a European soccer star that I've heard great amounts about and watched play his entire career?
100%.
It's a quick fix to me. It's a quick
It
fix.
is. You know what it is? It's a relationship with Dick's Sporting Goods. Who's going to sell the jerseys now?
Yeah, it's a quick fix because I can tell you real quick. I'm a Columbus Crew fan. Obviously, we're in Ohio where I am. All of a sudden now there's Messi jerseys everywhere. For Miami, there are no other MLS jerseys. Like, there aren't LAFC jerseys you can see at other stores, places like that. There's nothing. There's Messi everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's a quick fix. Now I know Messi's, we're talking like the very top of the top, but
right.
Like, I mean, it's a quick fix. So
how cool would it be if you could, just because I'm going to go with the one last name that's right on the top of my head, because it's my brothers and I, to buy a Dublis jersey, an American name on the back of the jersey.
It's marketing like anything else.
100%.
That would
100%.
be huge.
Huge.
But it feels like what's happening, and you're seeing it now in the NWSL, where even the women's team players are leaving to go to Europe because they pay more.
Yeah.
So,
but again, it's marketing. Like, what would happen if we put that American kid, in advertisements and cool, like you said earlier, Mike D, about Michael Jordan back in the day with Nike. What if we made it cool? And they were all over marketing things all the TV, but we don't see that. All we see is Messi.
Tune into the Soccer Rebellion because that's coming soon.
Yes.
All right. So
now, Jay, I did want to say it's not stealing when you steal ideas from other coaches. It's brilliant. It's smart. It's the way to do it. The idea is when you're the coach who came up with it, to do it in a way that nobody else can replicate. Example, Philadelphia Eagles tush push. Everybody else wants to be able to run that. But why can't they? In fact, it's so bad that they want to ban it.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yep.
So everybody else sees how smart that play is. They understand the brilliance of it. They want to steal it, but they've done it in a way that nobody else can. That's the key in my mind.
Good point.
Don't ever bring up the Eagles again on this podcast.
And this is where I want to really see if I can get Wine Michael up, and I really want to see if I can ruin the rest of his vacation right here.
Great. Awesome. Thank you.
This is my goal. Because as an older
and
brother,
with that, we're out of time.
So, talking to a friend, She was talking about her kid who was in club soccer. They had a tournament. She said it sounded like the tactics were off. They weren't really on the same page. I asked, because of Michael, and I've watched him, is the coach coaching on-field communication and chemistry? Because which I think nowadays is something that needs to be a much more bigger focus than it used to be.
Amen.
And she said, yes, the coach is good. He's Italian.
There you go.
Oh my God.
There you go.
She said Italian, not Italian. Not Italian, right? She said Italian.
She didn't say Italian.
There you
And
go.
let that sit for Michael.
All right. And with that cliffhanger, reminder to just check out the Soccer Rebellion.
But that's the whole problem. That's the whole problem.
All the great things we're doing. Check out the Soccer Neighborhood. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Good job, Eric.
And until next time, we'll see you on Sunday Night Soccer.